Hi, everyone, and welcome back to WTCA TV, where we're coming to you today live from the Global Business Forum put on by WTCA in lovely Bengaluru, India. And I'm Barb Mitchell, joined today by Steve Weigler, coming all the way from Denver,
I
Colorado.
am Denver, Colorado. Yep.
Yes, we have so much to talk about, but first of all, if you wouldn't mind just sharing a little bit about yourself, your business, what brings you to the conference.
Sure. I started out as a trial attorney, and then I became a corporate attorney, and then I started my own business,
Yeah.
and the business was in predictive analytics. Anyway, through my continued experiences, I built a lot of unique experiences and mostly experiences that would help business clients.
Yeah.
And so, about 8 years ago, when I exited my predictive analytics business, I decided to go back to practicing law to help entrepreneurs around the world um, really forge the best possible um, chance best to have a successful exit. And so
Yeah.
that really involves looking at the kind of the carnage that can happen, especially in international business along the way.
Yes.
And the first thing I started with is I became a brand focused attorney. My law firm has a brand, and I really focus a tremendous amount on trademarks because every business can make it or break it based on brand and brand identity.
Yeah, I mean, just on a personal note, I know that you were saying that when you think about branding, it starts with you, right? You have your signature look and the signature way that you present yourself, and I think that's such an important lesson because you are walking your talk. You understand what it means for businesses to need to stand out in a particular way. I think it's very valuable for this particular forum to have that kind of insight. So I'm excited to have you tell
Oh,
us more about that.
sure. Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, when I started, I hadn't practiced law for about 8 years when I was building this business. And building a business, it was from a conceptualization all the way to a relatively okay exit. Um, but it was I learned a lot about how are you going to distinguish your product, your goods or your services, as good as those services were, and goods for we've really focused on business to government. How are they going to recognize us? How are we going to not be knocked off by the next possible
Right.
consultant? And
Yeah.
so, really, I just think your business, everyone's business is different. I just went into it a leather company, and that's obviously a different business than my business,
Yeah.
but each business has its own distinguisher and own things it has to do to be competitive and build maximum value. But everyone has a brand. Everyone has a brand experience, and you protect that through trademark. And so, especially in the international arena, there's you can start with an American trademark if you're an American business. If you're a European or a Asian business coming into the United States, you might start with a strategy that starts in the place that you manufacture. But you really have to trace commerce and really trace that to the brand and then apply it and seek trademark protection.
Yeah.
So that's just the beginning. I mean,
Right.
then it's really distilling what is your business? Who are you? What are your unique aspects? Who what can screw you up? And
Yeah.
sometimes it's contracts. Sometimes it's partnerships. Sometimes it's taxation.
Hmm.
And so really, most of my clients, I build a really kind of deep uh, interpersonal relationship where I understand who they are, what they do, and what drives them, and we really focus on lacking in or filling in the things that matter
Yeah.
and forgetting about the rest of them.
Yeah, yeah, and when we think about, I'm interested your take on things here. Being you've traveled obviously from the U.S. We're in India. The conversations that are happening here. Do you find that it's what you expected? Do you find that there are similar conversations with business leaders that are here at this forum compared to what would maybe be happening locally back in Denver?
Yes, I mean, I think yes and no. I think the people are successful in business because they've developed certain skills and also been exposed to the good, the bad, the ugly. So most business owners, it could be in Denver, it could be in Bangalore, it could be in China. It doesn't matter. They've had uh, through experience, they've had things that have made them better business owners. And so what I'm seeing here in India, in a sense, is no different than the businesses I see in Denver. I think that you know, there's nuances here in India. There's some bureaucracy that we're not used to in our Denver contracts, but
Right.
generally, what's fun about international law is it the law is relatively similar wherever you go, as long as it's a country open to trade.
Right.
But then how the nuances are handled is usually through relationships, even on the attorney level. We all have to build relationships so we trust each other and really work on focusing on making sure that the deal gets done and no issues in the future occur. That's really our job.
So interesting. It's a really good point. It's an interesting perspective because I know that more and more over time, this idea of this global community is becoming more a reality, right? And people, you see it in this conference this week that people are interested, I think, to be learning about all the opportunities with the growth of the economy here in India. But also on the flip side, businesses in India are very interested in promoting globally their opportunities into North America and, of course, other markets. Um, do you think that the trends are the same? Do you think that similar trends are impacting everyone?
I do. I mean, I think the internet has been a blessing and a curse, because the blessing is it makes things, the ability to communicate and fine tune your relationships with vendors all over the world has become that much easier. The curse is that a lot of people shortcut the process to build meaningful relationships that are not going to get them in trouble. Meaning that there's an international concept of breaking bread. It could be, I see it here in Hindu culture, Christian culture. Breaking bread is super important. So a lot of my clients don't do the fast build and relationships necessary because the internet exists. And so
That's a good point.
You really have to spend the time to build. That's why you have to dissect this whole thing. You have to look at what's your channel, what really matters to you. A lot of these conferences might not matter to you, but ones where you're going to build relationships in a meaningful way are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true, isn't it? I mean, there's some of these steps people take for granted that we can just connect globally, and it is so powerful to be able to do that. But the importance of things like this, actually bringing it back to this global business forum, it's an opportunity for people to come together to witness, and they say celebrate the place that the business is happening here, and learn and observe, and then but also be together with this community that the WTCA creates. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I just advocate for anyone that has a supply chain or a sales channel, that they have to dissect it and really get to know the people and the cultures that they're working with. And I find this conference in particular makes it very easy to nail that in a relatively short period of time, despite the jet lag.
Right, which is challenging, but
it's been a little rough.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that. And so, what do you hope to leave the week with?
Well, it's just like everything else. I think over time, and I'm getting older, is you build a kind of a model of what you think has worked in my case, in my legal practice.
Right.
How can I get relationships, avoid litigation? How can I be of value to my clients? And I just feel like a conference like this fine tunes some of the hypotheses that I have, or opinions that I've made about the world. And I think it's starting to fill in to be close to concrete, meaning that I have a pretty good idea of how to build these types of relationships and get my clients' work
allows
done.
you to test your assumptions. So
Absolutely. And then there's some things that, of course, because I've never been exposed to this, particularly the Indian culture, being in India before. I've never been here.
Yeah,
but there's some things that I didn't know and will help me, because India's, I mean, one thing I don't know if you've noticed, but this country is on fire. Like, their economy is on fire.
It's unbelievable, amazing.
And some other places where we've worked or done work for clients is kind of drying up a little bit.
Right.
And so this is a very important place. it hasn't been the easiest place to travel. And I've been here for like 2 weeks.
Oh,
And so in some ways it's a complex country. And so, but I think, this is not a country you want to ignore.
right. I agree. And so important too, as you've said, and we've been saying here, and maybe a good place to close today is just this ability to or willingness to be open to understanding the different cultures and opportunities, and then how to take that back and apply it to what it is you want to do in your business, and sort of building that the brand identity as you've been talking about. So
Yeah. And I would just close like whatever anyone is going to do, relationships really matter. So it could be a Denver to Denver hamburger stand, or it could be
yeah.
an international leather trades business. It doesn't matter. It's still relational based, and you have to really just dissect what relationships you really want to focus on, because
Yes.
life is not. It goes kind of quickly. So
So true.
yeah,
Yeah.
well,
That's a good
pleasure.
place to close. Yeah. Thank you. This has been a great conversation. I really
Likewise.
appreciate it.
Take
Appreciate your
care.
time. Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you to our viewers for tuning in again to WTCA TV. Until next time.